Once upon a time in the land of Babylon, there was a mighty king named Nebuchadnezzar. He ruled over his kingdom with an iron fist, demanding that everyone bows down and worships him. But he had grown arrogant and prideful and thought himself to be a god. So he did something crazy. He built a huge golden statue of himself and set it up in the plain of Dura. Then he made a command that whenever music played from the golden mouth, everyone must bow down before it and worship it. But if anyone refused, they would be thrown into a blazing furnace. Now, among the people was a group of 3 friends named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men were devout worshippers of the God of Israel and refused to bow down to idols. But one day, while they were hanging out near the palace, they heard the music from the golden statue. Suddenly, some officials came up to them and said, "Hey, get up, you 3. You have been told to bow down to the golden statue when the music starts playing." Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego looked at each other. They knew what would happen if they didn't obey the king's command, but they also knew that they could never go against their beliefs. So when the music started playing, these 3 brave friends stood up and refused to bow down. Instead, they raised their hands toward heaven and praised their God. When the officials saw this, they ran and told the king, "Hey, we just told those 3 guys to bow down to the golden statue, but instead, they're standing right up and praising their God. They don't care about your life or death." The king was furious and ordered for the 3 friends to be brought before him. Nebuchadnezzar was really angry, but he still gave them one last chance to obey his command. "Listen, you 3, I want you to bow down to the golden statue when the music starts playing. If you do what I say, you will live, but if you don't, you will be thrown into a blazing hot furnace." Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood firm and replied to the king, "Our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and even if he doesn't, we won't bow down to your golden statue." The king was furious. He couldn't believe that these 3 men would rather die than obey him, so he ordered for the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. Then he ordered for the 3 men to be thrown into the fire. The soldiers did as they were told, and they threw the 3 friends into the blazing furnace. As soon as they touched the fire, the heat was so intense that it killed the soldiers instantly. They burned to death before they even had a chance to scream. But what happened next shocked everyone. Inside the furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were unharmed. The fire couldn't hurt them. The 3 friends were walking around inside the furnace, praising their God. Suddenly, Nebuchadnezzar looked inside the fire and saw something that made him gasp. He saw not 3, but 4 figures walking inside the flames. The 4th figure was glowing brightly and seemed to be protecting the 3 friends. It looked like an angel of God, and it was so bright that no one could look directly at it. The king couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had ordered for the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual, but these 3 men were not only alive, they were unharmed, and on top of that, they weren't even scared. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were walking around inside the fire, praising their God, while the angelic presence was protecting them. Then the king said, "Didn't we throw 3 men in? But I see 4, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." At that moment, Nebuchadnezzar realized that these 3 men had a God who was mightier than him. This wasn't just a miracle, it was a sign from God himself. As the 3 friends continued to praise their God, the angelic presence left them and the fire went out. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walked out of the furnace completely unharmed. Not even their clothes smelled of smoke. The king was astonished and couldn't believe what he was seeing. He called for his advisors and said, "Look, those 3 men were thrown into a fire so hot it killed the guards instantly, but they walked out without even the smell of smoke. Their God is truly powerful, and I want to know more about him." So Nebuchadnezzar made a decree that said, "No one may speak against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." From that day on, everyone in Babylon knew that there was a God who was mightier than the king, and that's the end of the story. Hey kids, I hope you enjoyed listening to the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These 3 brave friends didn't let the heat get to them. They stood firm in their beliefs and trusted that their God would take care of them. Just like them, we should never give up on our faith, no matter how hard things get. If you like this story, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on any of our new stories. Also, here's a fun fact for you. The book of Daniel, where this story comes from, was written in the language of Aramaic, which was very unusual at the time since most people only spoke Hebrew or Greek. Alright, now it's time for you to do your part. Share this video with your friends and family so they can also hear this amazing story. Also, Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us what you liked most about the story. We love reading your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.